All right, some breaking news on this Monday to get to here on Philadelphia Eagles now, as the Birds have bulked up that linebacking core, which was consistently gashed by the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday. Shaq Leonard has decided to sign with the Philadelphia Eagles and not with the Dallas Cowboys. Also coming up on today's show, Jeremy Fowler talking about the Eagles' interest in Zach Ertz. Are the Eagles not done? Could they add another all-pro caliber player? We'll get to that here in just a moment. First, here is a report from Ian Rappaport of NFL Network saying that the Eagles and former Colts All-Pro linebacker Shaq Leonard have agreed to terms on a one-year deal. Took a visit to Philadelphia last week, a potential big addition for this stretch run. Leonard, as we know, also visited with the Dallas Cowboys, but Philly was always the preferred spot. Now, with Shaq Leonard, we have talked so much about his decline, and Zach Ertz has declined as well. But when you add all-pro players or players with an all-pro history, as I alluded to a little bit earlier, they can serve as really important depth pieces, and they can serve as really important players for your team during the midst of a Super Bowl run to try to really diversify your offensive and defensive approaches as much as possible, and to bulk up your roster with as much talent as you can. And with Shaq Leonard, we talk so much about his decline. He is not the all-pro player that he once was. But is he better than Christian Ellis and Nicholas Morrow? I think the answer to that question is a resounding yes, especially after what we saw during Sunday's action against the San Francisco 49ers, because I thought the Niners exposed the Eagles, especially with that weakness over the middle area of the field and against the Eagles' off-ball linebackers in pass coverage. Brock Purdy threw for 314 yards in that game. 213 of those yards came after the catch. San Francisco exposed, identified that weakness, and they kept going back to the well because the Philadelphia Eagles showed no signs of being able to stop it. And when you look at these numbers, according to Pro Football Focus, this is why the Eagles got desperate. This is why the Eagles probably hit up Shaq Leonard after that game against the Niners and said, we need you, we want you, what do you want to be paid on that one-year contract? Because Nicholas Morrow allowed 175 yards against the Niners. He gave up 6 catches on 8 targets, 151 of those yards coming after the catch. And then Christian Ellis also playing a lot because Zach Cunningham was out, only 2 catches on 3 targets for 33 yards. When you think about this move for the Eagles, there's really no risk here at all. If Shaq Leonard sucks, if he is indeed washed, that's fine, right? You're not paying him that much money, and it's a one-year deal for the remainder of the 2023 season. But if he helps you upgrade at a position of weakness and he turns it into more of a strength, and that linebacking unit just gets a little bit better incrementally, then that is a win for this Eagles defense. Philadelphia is playing Dallas this upcoming week. AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas. Dak Prescott has been on a heater of late. I understand it's come against a lot of bad or mediocre opponents, but his connection to CeeDee Lamb has been a really good one. They're running a lot of pre-snap motion. Eagles caught off guard by that pre-snap motion. As James Bradbury said after the game against the San Francisco 49ers, Cowboys like to do a lot of the same things, and Dak's ability to target the middle area of the field up the middle is why he threw for so many yards against Philadelphia a little bit earlier this year, but that connection with CeeDee Lamb has occurred a lot at the middle area of the field and the intermediate area of the field, where Shaq Leonard hopefully can improve this Eagles defense just a bit. This is why you subscribe to the channel, because when breaking news happens, we break it down here on Philadelphia Eagles Now, looking to get to 67,000 subscribers by the time that the Eagles play the Cowboys, so make sure you lock us in and subscribe. Going back to the injury history with Shaq Leonard. In December of 2020, he suffered a lower back injury in Week 14. He did return in Week 15. Then in June of 2022, had a bulging disc in his back. He got surgery on that in June, back to practice in August. Then in November of 2022, another setback with another back injury, and that led to yet another surgery for Leonard. So a couple of back operations, I think, has led to the decline in play for the former All-Pro, who, again, like Zach Ertz, is not an All-Pro caliber player right now, but does have All-Pro to their name as far as their honors. Career stats for Shaq Leonard this year: 70 games played, 68 starts, 614 tackles, 32 tackles for loss, 31 pass breakups, 17 forced fumbles, and 12 interceptions. He has played a lot. He has produced a lot in his NFL career. You're hoping that at this point, while he doesn't have the All-Pro ability that he once had, he does have some of the All-Pro instincts, allowing him to diagnose plays before they happen. In his first 4 years, I thought Leonard was terrific and put up some awesome numbers. In 2018, 163 tackles, 7 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, and 4 forced fumbles. He was a second-round pick out of South Carolina State. In 2019, 13 games played, 121 tackles, 5 sacks, 7 TFLs, and 2 forced fumbles. In 2020, another really good season in which he eclipsed the century mark with tackles and was active in sacking the quarterback, and the TFLs were good, as well as the forced fumbles and the pass breakups. Like, this was a player who was really doing it all. He was a part of blitz packages. He was sacking the quarterback. He was making plays behind the line of scrimmage. He was forcing fumbles. He was breaking up passes, and that's why at the time in 2021, he was made the highest paid off-ball linebacker in the game. But as the injuries have gone up, the play has decreased, and because of that, the numbers have also gone down. 12 games over the last 2 years. He did play 70% of the snaps with Indianapolis this year, but a goose egg for sacks as well as forced fumbles, and only 1 TFL to his name. So we want you to grade the signing of Shaq Leonard here. Let's hear from you down in the comments section right now. What do you think of Howie Roseman's latest move? Let's hear from you down in the comments section. Now, today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. If you're looking to get into daily fantasy sports and play DFS, this is the only app that you should be using. And we can get you a $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use the code CLNS. This is the largest independently run daily fantasy sports app in North America. You pick 2 or more players. You choose more or less on their projected stat lines. And what we like going into Monday Night Football, not a great game. Bengals without Joe Burrow against the Jacksonville Jaguars. We got to look at Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence. We're going to go with less than 218.5 passing yards for Jake Browning. The Jaguars defense pretty good. And then more than 67.5 rushing yards for Travis Etienne. So one more time, easy and exciting daily fantasy. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use that code CLNS for that $100 deposit match. So we covered the Shaq Leonard latest. Now let's get to the latest around Zach Ertz, another declining player who has Pro Bowl and All-Pro types of accolades right to his name, but he can still help this football team for the reasons that we're about to break down. While the Eagles have wrapped up, Jeremy Fowler said, the Shaq Leonard deal, they've also inquired about an old friend, Zach Ertz, who is still evaluating his options as of this afternoon. Now, this Eagles offense, it's been an issue. We talked about it on the earlier show here on Eagles Now. They are way too inconsistent. And sometimes the Eagles rely on some of these heroic comebacks and Jalen Hurts making plays out of structure. What if I told you the Eagles could pick up an option who's a really good security blanket, knows where to find the soft spot of the defense, and can make really heady plays to get open, to give Jalen Hurts an easy throw, to move the chains, keep these drives going, to help this Eagles offense be a little bit more consistent? And what if I told you that player could be Zach Ertz? I saw this tweet from Honest NFL, and I thought that the Twitter account that breaks down football makes some really good points here. I would be dumbfounded if Ertz doesn't end up back with the Eagles. It just makes way too much sense. The Eagles need an F for 12 personnel who understands how to get open and/or find soft spots in the under coverage that provides the quarterback with an easy outlet against muddy coverage looks. Basically what I just said, right? Ertz, one of the most quarterback-friendly pass catchers ever because of how he uses leverage and angles to his advantage. I believe the Eagles offense is going to need to use their 12 personnel package at some point this year to win a Super Bowl. And Ertz has the ability to be effective in that role even at this point in his career. 12 personnel can be a lethal weapon if you know how to use it. And I think that Zach Ertz would be able to give the Eagles the best chance to maximize that package of any of the other tight ends that they have. because all of the other tight ends that the Eagles have, Jack Stoll, more of a blocking tight end. Grant Calcaterra really isn't that guy. Albert Okwuegbunam had an opportunity at a reception against the San Francisco 49ers. He dropped it. But why it makes sense to bring in Ertz furthermore, it's not going to cost you a lot of money. He has familiarity with the team as well as the system. He could be very good against the blitz, where the blitz comes and Ertz knows that's my hot. That's the soft spot of that defense. I know Zach Ertz is going to settle there and be there. Let's just give it to him. And that's a great just outlet to have for the quarterback. It gives Ertz that easy option to sometimes bail him out. Or if everybody else is covered, it's like, okay, let's go to Zach Ertz to move the chains here. And he's made those big plays time and time again. He's also 11 catches away from an all-time Eagles record. He's 10 right now behind Harold Carmichael for tying the franchise record in receptions all time. He gets 11. He overtakes that record. And on top of him being a 3-time Pro Bowler, not necessarily an all-pro like I said a little bit earlier, but all-pro type of potential early in his career is kind of what I meant. But in addition to being a Pro Bowl player, in addition to being a Super Bowl champion, in addition to setting records, and that includes him with the most receptions in the course of single-season history for the Philadelphia Eagles, he could break that Harold Carmichael record. So it could make sense for him if he's looking to really solidify himself as one of the best players in the history of this organization. And that's what he's been, and that's what he was. From 2013 to 2020, his per-year averages were insane. 14.5 games, 104.5 targets is what he was able to average per year from 2013 to 2020. And per year, he averaged 70 grabs, almost 760 yards, average yards per catch at 10.8, and he was a very good player at bringing in touchdowns, 4.5 of them. And then from 2021 to 2023, this is over the last couple of years, as you can see, the production's gone down, the games played have gone down, the numbers have gone down because of injuries, because he is a declining player. But again, you're stacking depth with the player like Shaq Leonard. You're stacking depth with the player like Zach Ertz. And when you think about how the Eagles matched up with San Francisco looked like the deeper, talented, better football team. Not by much, but by a little. And in bringing in Leonard, bringing in Ertz, they have so many credible accomplishments to their name, they can help out this football organization. So with that, what say you? Should the Eagles sign Zach Ertz next after Shaq Leonard? H for come home, Zach. S for stay away. We, of course, always appreciate your feedback here on the show. We thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button.